Hola, hola, hola! Today I'm going to be recapping the latest episode of Drag Race España Season 5, Manifest the Festival. This season is such a joy to watch and a pleasure to recap. Without further ado, let's get into it. The queens walk back into the workroom after the non-elimination episode, and Ferran thanks Saturn for saving her, saying she's a mother to all. Miss Congeniality, anyone? I love that Ferran added that it was Nori who basically saved her. I bet she loved that. So it's a new week in the workroom and there are still 11 contestants. Crystal apologizes to Nyx for disrespecting her and asks for her forgiveness. Nyx, however, says in confessional she doesn't buy the apology. And good for her, because Crystal admits in confessionals that she's not doing this because she likes Nyx, she's just trying to make peace and move on. I'm so glad Nyx didn't fall for that. At that moment, Supreme enters the workroom and announces that a double elimination is imminent. More on that later. So for this week's mini challenge, the queens need to get into quick party drag. They need to wear a case of balls strapped around their waist and twerk until all the balls fall out. The first 3 queens to empty their cases will win and get a maxi challenge advantage. The winner is Laka Odilia, followed by Margarita Califata and Denebola Murnau. So for this week's maxi challenge, the queens will be attending Manifest the Festival, a drag festival of protest songs. They will premiere 3 anthems on the main stage that send a clear message. The 3 winners of the mini challenge get to become captains. Laka as the winner gets to pick first. And of course, Crystal is picked last. Why was Daphne second last, by the way? She's literally a dancer and a performer. Maybe they just didn't want to be outshined by her? The queens must choose their songs, and the track Hater seems to be the most popular. Nyx believes her team should get it because she's received the most hate as a trans woman. But Margarita is like, I had a rough childhood. And suddenly it's a who's had it worse battle. It gets quite heated. They decide the only fair course of action is to play rock, paper, scissors. And Margarita wins, getting the song Hater. Laka's team get Match Travesti, and Denebola's team get A World Without Closets. I'm always of the argument that if you're talented enough, you can turn anything out. As they prepare, Alexandra opens up about her HIV status, which she wants to sing about on the track. Laka's group talk about unwanted sexualization, especially in drag, which is an important topic. Remember, consent is key. On Elimination Day, Margarita apologizes for her outburst when picking the songs. Nyx also apologizes, saying she wasn't trying to come across as the only person that's had difficulties. It's just different as a trans woman. Queens open up about receiving hate both online and in person. Margarita shares being physically assaulted at school, and Laka after Pride. Nyx was cornered by 5 men at a 7-Eleven that wouldn't let her leave. It's such a scary world we live in. The bravest thing you can do is be yourself in a world full of hate. So on the main stage this evening, we have Supreme Deluxe looking super cute. Like Mama Pow, she just rocks a red wig. We also have Anna Locking, Los Harveys, and extra special guest judge, Rebecca. And that's my name, but she spells it with 1 C and I spell it with 2. So it's time for Manifest. First up, we have La Jessies performing to Match Travesti. What a bop. Luckily, I'm Italian and I can understand some of their verses because they were not in English in the subtitles. I think they were the strongest group overall. Next is Dragtasticas performing Hater. Another bop. I personally think Crystal got a bit lost, and Margarita was a bit behind in the choreo. Alexandra was the best. Last but not least is The Bad Jokes performing A World Without Closets. Another fun track. Why is Drag Race UK Season 7 not taking notes? They had such a frenetic energy about them. Well, Nyx and Denebola did. Eva wasn't quite matching the energy. They were the weakest group this evening. Category is Disfrutonas, and I gave my top 2 to Denebola. Was Disfrutonas supposed to be badass fruit? Anyway, this runway could not be more me. It is perfect. So it's time for the judges' critiques, and right off the bat, Laka's group are pronounced the winning team. However, the main winner was Laka, and I agree. I love her ridiculous runway. It is so cute. The rest are up for judgment. Margarita is told she had some shaky moments in the choreography, but she kept going. They really loved her runway, saying it was well made. La Escandalo was praised for her performance and the facial expression she used, but the runway could have been taken further. And I agree, I am not getting fig from this at all. Alexandra is told that her runway is beautiful and she had the most confidence in her team, along with the strongest lyrics. Crystal is in the bottom, particularly for her runway. They say that the majority of her runways lack polish and need editing. Denebola is told she pulled her group along despite the chaos. She gave it her all and she really took care of her teammates. They loved her look, saying it was very Tim Burton, and she got another over. Nyx is in the bottom for missing some steps in the choreography. They also wanted her to push it further in the runway. I didn't like this look, unfortunately. Eva is also in the bottom for not being present. As I said earlier, she didn't match their energy. They were quite impressed with her runway, but it was evident that she couldn't walk in it. Before the queens leave the stage, Supreme says that 3 of them will have to lip sync for their life and only 1 will survive. As no one went home last week, there are no hearts to save them this week. However, next week there should be 2 hearts to dish out. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Back in Untucked, tensions are high knowing 2 will go home. Nyx and Eva are certain that it's them, but they're not sure of the third person. Back on the main stage, Nyx, La Scandalo, and Eva Harrington are put up for elimination. I'm honestly surprised that they saved Crystal. She has a bad attitude to the judges' critiques and towards her sisters, and it was an opportunity for her to lip sync against Nyx. The 3 performed to Duro de Pelar by Rebecca, very fitting for a fruit runway. Eva takes way too long to step out of her bulky costume. La Scandalo is tripping in her dress, and her wig is falling apart. Only Nyx is keeping it together, serving face, and giving us a moment. Supreme decides to save Nyx, and we say goodbye to Eva Harrington and La Scandalo. La Scandalo was in my top 3 pre-season, and I honestly think she had a lot more to show. I'm surprised she went home this early. I'm also surprised they did the double elimination so early. But hey, why not get it out the way? And so, my friends, what did you think of this week's episode? Did you agree with the judging? It's such a good season so far. I'm absolutely loving it. It's definitely going to make my top at the end of the year's rankings. Next week is the Snatch Game. I'm very excited. It looks like there's some more drama involving Crystal, and I'm curious to see how the double heart situation will play out. But as always, give me all the tea, and I'll see you very soon for another video.